Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 28th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery here, and you can see this low pressure center really wrap up and bring this cold air and circulate it back around its center here off the coast of Oregon. Precipitation occurring across some of Oregon should spread up across portions of Washington here. It's going to have a harder time getting towards central Washington here as there's some east winds going on as well. So western Washington not likely for a rainy day today, but different story down there across Oregon. As you can see, the clouds are thicker, obviously much closer to the storm there as a powerful frontal system moves down through California. So we'll take a look at those details. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as always coming up here in a moment. And at Seattle yesterday, 59 degrees, got 60 at my house here next to the Puget Sound. Pretty warm day, nice sunshine out there before some of those clouds came over during the afternoon and evening hours. But, we'll take it as we can get it here. And we're probably going to stay warm here as we go through today, tomorrow, and then start to cool back down towards the end of the week coming up here. These are current hazards, and you can clearly see the reflection of that cloud shield and the precipitation occurring across Oregon. Got a winter high wind warnings here, winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories, wind advisories. We still have the wind advisories here across some of western Washington area, the foothill areas of the east gap winds coming through. Should peak sometime late morning and during this afternoon. There is some winter weather advisories, mainly above 3,500 feet here for some of the Washington Cascades, east slopes of the Cascades here as well. Some uncertainty on just how much is going to fall here as, we're not quite sure how much this precipitation is going to make its way up into Washington here. Some winter weather advisories for the higher terrain of Idaho as well. This is looking at those gusty east winds again. We saw this map yesterday. Again, the typical areas, North Bend, Enumclaw out there, Snoqualmie, Stevens Pass, gusty winds as it comes through the pass here as that low pivots down the coastline, bringing these offshore winds across the area. This is Spokane National Weather Service, and you can see that winter weather advisory for 3,500 feet plus there. You can see blue at Stevens Pass picking up some snowfall there, low confidence in snow totals there. So just have a heads up there and be prepared for the possibility of some winter driving conditions. This is going on into this weekend. This is Missoula National Weather Service, and they're talking about that next trough knocking on the door towards the end of the week and into the weekend here. Of course, elevations above 4,000 feet are going to be favored 5 to 10 inches here. So just, here we go with the winter driving conditions again on in through early spring. This is looking at the mean sea level pressure here currently, and you can see this low pivot and move down towards the California coastline, leaving the Pacific Northwest kind of in the wake of that low pressure center there. And we're going to get a couple warm days across the region here, probably through Thursday, not too bad. But then we'll start to cool down as we go towards Friday and the weekend. As you can see, the next system starting to make its way into the Pacific Northwest here at the end of March. This is looking at the winds here currently with that low, and you can see the offshore flow across Washington, somewhat across Oregon there. It's stronger winds for the southwest Oregon coast. That's why those high wind warnings are in effect. Strong frontal system going down through California there. Low pivots down across the state of California and kind of leaves us in this wake here in the Pacific Northwest. So cross your fingers there. So a couple nice days coming up here. Western Oregon is going to get a few more clouds versus western Washington coming up here. So it's probably going to warm up a little bit more across some of the Puget Sound here as we go on through the day today and tomorrow. Now, taking a look here, you can see the next system as it finally starts to move in here. And then this is the beginning of that next trough coming as we go through this weekend coming up here. More on that here in a moment. This is looking at precipitation and mean sea level pressure here. And you can clearly see Oregon getting the lion's share of precipitation here in the form of some snowfall for the higher terrain, and some of that making its way up towards the east slopes of the Cascades of Washington, maybe getting Stevens Pass and Snoqualmie Pass a little bit there, maybe Blewett Pass as well as we go through tonight before that starts to taper off as we go on in through Wednesday afternoon. And by the time we get to Thursday, we're going to dry out a bit more across the area before the clouds start to arrive again. By the time we get into Fridays, you can see the next system arriving here. A fairly chilly upper level trough coming for the Pacific Northwest. This is looking at lightning flash density. So I'm going to speed ahead to this weekend. We're now looking at Wednesday. You can see some instability maybe creeping up across some of southwest Oregon here as we go through Wednesday afternoon. Could include the coastal ranges there as well. Go through Thursday here, and you can see not much going on, but watch what happens Friday when this trough gets closer here. Not Friday. We're looking at Saturday here now. And you can see the instability increase here across some of the Pacific Northwest as we go through Saturday afternoon. And we go on into Sunday. Could get a repeat of that again with that cold upper level trough over the area here. Sun starts getting stronger at this time of year, so we could destabilize things and get a few thunderstorms across the Pacific Northwest as we go through this weekend here. Might make for some nice scenes. Get your cameras out for that. So now here we are looking at total snow 10-to-1 ratio. Let's put this into motion. You can see Oregon getting some decent amounts here as we go through the day today. Starts to creep up into Washington a bit. That's why those winter weather advisories are open for some places up here across the east slopes of the Cascades. Interesting, there's not much here across the southern Washington Cascades. You could get up over 6 inches for some of the higher terrain as well, but that's what the National Weather Service is showing. And then you can see some of this activity pivot through Idaho and eventually on in through Montana here as we go on in through midweek coming up. And then the next system starts to arrive there at the very end of the run here that goes out 90 hours on last night's European run. This is looking at 2-meter temperature, 6-hour max temperature. Now, as we go through the day today, look at western Washington, southwest BC, a nice warm day. But as you saw, the storm is here, spreading those clouds up from the south here. So it's going to continue to bring Oregon's temperatures down a bit there. Now, as we go on in through Wednesday, you'll notice western Oregon's try to warm up a little bit here. In western Washington, a nice day up into the upper 50s, maybe some 60-degree readings here as well, including some of eastern Washington also. Go on in through Thursday, and, we're showing some low, maybe mid-50s here across places west of the Cascades. A little bit warmer eastern Washington, but then as we go on into Friday, you'll notice the cool down start to occur. Might not be getting out of the 40s, maybe up towards 50 here as we go through the day Friday as that trough makes its way into the Pacific Northwest. This is looking at Seattle, Tacoma. You can see as we go through the day today. Tomorrow, probably the warmest day here on Wednesday as we get up towards 60 for SeaTac, and then we start that bump down towards Friday, and then this weekend here with some showers, even a thunderstorm potential, some mountain snows possible as well. This is looking at Portland. You can see Wednesday probably the warmest day here as well, mid-50s. I wouldn't be surprised to see some upper 50s here towards 60 degrees, and then we start that downward trend towards the weekend. This is looking at the long-term forecast here. So this is the system we're dealing with right now. Pivots down out of the way, then here comes the next system across the Gulf of Alaska here and into the Pacific Northwest as we go through Friday. And we continue to have this troughing around the Pacific Northwest there for that thunderstorm chance as we go through the weekend. Go on into early next week and take a look at this storm system here. Some of the European control run actually shows a stronger storm for California versus this low pressure center moving up the Oregon coast towards Washington. This would be a fairly robust system there. We'll see how this trends over the next few days. We're out towards 200 hours now, and that's kind of looking out towards Fantasyland a bit. But this would bring a pretty dynamic storm to much of the west coast on through the extended forecast. So it looks like we might remain active here across Pacific Northwest and even down towards California. We'll see how this trends again as we look on into the future days. This is 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Look at this bullseye here on the west coast, including the Pacific Northwest. This goes through April 6th. This goes through April 10th. And again, with a bullseye here across much of the west, including some of the northern plains there and Alaska. This is 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook here. California, some of Oregon and Washington, a little bit less so, but we are in the above average signal here across the west coast through April 6th, and this goes through April 10th here. Should remain above average here for a lot of the Pacific Northwest, including down the west coast towards California also. This is something that I usually show, but we just have not had to deal with it much this year. The Seattle area Washington landslide monitoring site, and you can see here it does Everett, it does Seattle, Tacoma, it does Tacoma as well, and we're just not near that red line. When you start to get on the right side of this red line, as you get more precipitation during a 15-day or a 3-day time period, then you start to get those increases in some of those localized landslides across the area. We have not had to worry about that as we've been kind of abnormally dry here for the last 3 months or so. This is the drought monitor outlook right here also, and it did mention drought development likely across the Cascades. You notice they've taken that away here. I don't know exactly when they did, but they have done it, so that's a good thing. Snow water equivalent not doing too bad across some of the mountainous areas, so hopefully that continues for Washington. However, the drought is expected to persist across much of Oregon, at least what's going on right now, and you can see Idaho, Montana, same thing as well, but really not expecting much drought development across the state of Washington as we go on through the period. So what a storm out there. I mean, it looks like a cinnamon roll out there, and it's a great classic cyclogenesis occurring here. As you can see, it just wrapping this very cold air from that upper level trough down and around and back in here. And so you're getting all kinds of different bands. You're getting cold front here. You're getting additional little pseudo cold fronts in there. You've got a bent back occlusion. You can kind of see an eye to this storm here. And it's going to take its sweet time and kind of march down the coast of California here. and impact places down through the Bay Area and Los Angeles as you go on in through the week coming up here. And then our next system is way out here off to the north, and this will eventually march down as we go towards the end of the week here and include us in another trough here across the Pacific Northwest. So if you're hoping to warm up here through this weekend, it's probably not going to happen, but if you liked watching the weather, you might get a thunderstorm or two out of it. We'll see how that goes. Maybe add some more snow to the snowpack out there across some of the mountains. But anyway, hope you guys are enjoying this weather. It was nice across Seattle yesterday. I know Oregon's kind of socked in the clouds, but you should get a bit of a break as we go through tomorrow. Warm up a little bit here for the next couple of days across the region and then cool back down. So anyway, hope you guys get out and get a chance to enjoy that weather. And yeah, we'll do this again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then.